Hey, this is Chris with Rekkid Talk. We're going to do 5 records in 5 minutes. Theme this time is going to be novelty comedy records. So let's start off with The Monster Mash. The Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett and the Crypt Kickers. So, of course, you hear this song around Halloween, The Monster Mash. It must be weird for him that I think basically his entire career ended up being sort of revolving around this particular song. It's on the Parrot label. I think it was originally recorded early 60s, 62 or so. I forgot to look up exactly the date, but around there. Next, let's do. You were a kid in the 70s, you probably remember Disco Duck by Rekkids and his cast of idiots. If you don't remember Rekkids, he was a sort of a national syndicated DJ. He had a top 40 show, sort of similar to Casey Kasem. He did novelty songs. I think Disco Duck was probably the most well-known of the novelty songs he did. Part 2, the instrumental, is on the back, but I'm not sure why you want the instrumental version of a comedy record. While we're talking about comedy, we of course need to talk about Steve Martin. Steve Martin in the Tutankhamons with King Tut. And of course, this was part of Steve Martin was his stand-up albums were very big in the late 70s, early 80s. He was on SNL all the time. I mean, he wasn't a cast member, but he was a very frequent co-host. So he's doing a lot of his shtick. He's got the bunny ears. I think the other album has the arrow through the head. But he's also a fine musician on his own standpoint. One of his albums had him playing his banjo music on one side and comedy on the other. And as a kid, I was bummed out because I didn't want the banjo music. I just wanted the comedy. But King Tut, of course, is probably his most well-known comedy song. And then there's some banjo music on the flip side of the single. So Steve Martin in the Tutankhamons, King Tut. Then we got Elmo and Patsy, Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer. So of course, when we don't want to play serious classic Christmas carols, we can play Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. And I've thrifted a couple copies of this recently. So this one's 1979 Kim Pat record label from Fayetteville, Tennessee. It's got Elmo and Patsy's P.O. box in Windsor, California on it. So this was, I believe, the original issue of it. And then more recently, I found the picture sleeve version. So you got Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. There's Elmo and Patsy on the other side. This one has Percy the Puny Poinsettia as the flip side, where a song called Christmas was a flip side on the other one. And of course, this is on the major label Epic rather than the small independent label. And then, of course, if you were a teenager in the early 80s, you spent time at the video arcade, and you probably had Pac-Man Fever. So there's Buckner and Garcia with Pac-Man Fever. The Pac-Man Fever instrumental on the flip side. Columbia's factory sleeve. I don't know if they had a picture sleeve version of the single. I do have the original album as well with ringwear. And of course, there's all the songs were themed on different video games. I can tell you that all the songs besides Pac-Man Fever are awful, and you don't want any of those. And so that's used up my 5 records in 5 minutes, but I'm going to show you a bonus CD. Dave Lippman, I Hate Walmart. So I saw that for $1, and I figured I had to get this for $1. And so we'll see you. If you don't like the sentiment, I'm sorry. Didn't buy it at Walmart.